Kumudam man, okay? For a change.
On your own personal device.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's possible to maximize the windows so
Yeah,
that
I tried that also. Let's see. Yeah.
okay, sure. Okay, so just to summarize, so this is what we're going to see today. So what is VPC, use cases, and the components, and demo on the VPC. So I think this is the same slide that we had before. I think today we are going to cover this components in the networking section. So in this, we are focusing on one product, VPC, but there are other products as well under the networking category. So which I think we will take it for the following sessions. I think in this session, primarily we are going to cover VPC and the Internet Gateway. These two things which you're going to see in this demo as well. But there are other products as well, which I think we'll take in the following sessions. So yeah, to come to just give overview what is VPC. So VPC stands for Virtual Private Cloud. This is primarily it is helpful for you to isolate a virtual network in AWS. What does that mean? Isolated virtual network is something like a private cloud or dedicated data center just for you. So which means outside people who don't have access to this network can't access any of the AWS resources created under this network. So that's why it's called isolated. So and virtual, the definition is like it is not the real physical. So it is all the software. So that's why it's called virtual. So you can't see these things physically. So it is happening on cloud. But yeah, you just give the commands and it will happen over the commands in cloud. So that's why it's called virtual network. So yeah, so that is so one liner. It is basically what is VPC? VPC is nothing but an isolated virtual network or a private network that you could create in cloud. Typically, this if an advanced implementation of this is that you could create a data center for many companies using VPC. So you can imagine how valuable this product is. Like you can create a dedicated data center for your product or for your company in AWS cloud. For example, eBay. Taking that as an example, so eBay has its own data center, where all their servers all will be deployed on the data center. So something like that. So you can create your own company's private cloud that you can create using VPC, and that you can access it over a button clicks. Like you can from the console, AWS console, you can stop it, start it, allocate IPs, deallocate IPs. So all this networking functions, all you can create on using the console of AWS. So we have just like really very beautiful product. So and it also gives a complete control over the network. So and also you have an option to select the IPs for your network. So you can select your own IPs or IP range that you want to support. And recently, earlier IPv4 was only supported. IPv4 is something like 10.0.0.0. I mean, that is like a 10.0.0.0, 4 zeros, for example, 10 dot. So that is what the IPv4 range. But recently, so the IPv6 also is introduced, and VPC supports IPv6 as well. So which means you will get a more broader IP numbers. So I mean, we are basically the reason is that IP address we are running short because of a lot of many people are using it, and we are running short of IPv4 IPs. So that's the reason IPv6 is introduced. So that at least we can still get new IPs for at least another some years. So that is the idea. So basically the point is VPC supports IPv6 as well. So and also it provides multiple layers of security. As I said, by the definition, you're getting an isolated network. So which means this comes under security category as well. So you get a multiple layers of security by introducing VPC, so that others can't access your network. So you have your own secured network. So that's about VPC. Any questions here? Okay, I'm moving on to the next slide. I think this diagram is just for you to. These are the product images. So yeah, just if you see this diagram, so yeah, just think that it is VPC. Yeah, so all the diagrams have significance. That's the reason I'm putting this diagram here. Okay, so typical use cases of VPC. So, so the typical use cases in enterprises are primarily, let's say you have a public-facing website. So, you want to create any enterprise want to create a public-facing website. So there VPC will play a major role. For example, VPC, you can create a single public subnet. I will tell you what subnet is in the following slides. But you can create a dedicated public subnet with using this VPC. So with the subnet is like you can imagine it as a boundary. So so you can create your own boundary for your enterprise, so that others can't access it. So you, and you can deploy your website onto that boundary or to subnet. So that is one simple example. So one use case. And you can access and you can assign a public IP to that website. So anyone can access that public website, but not the resources uh, under that under that website. For example, no one can access a virtual machine. Let's say, imagine a scenario where in the last session we saw Windows virtual machine. So let's assume your website is running in that Windows virtual machine. So and the last session I mean we create a Windows VM, but uh, assuming that there's a public subnet also available to it, so you can access it publicly. But you can't access it for example, from another network. So it is not possible to access. So if you bound that website with a public subnet, so it's something. Subnet is like a boundary. So you can imagine that. And so that is one use case. And other use case are multi-tier web application. When I say multi-tier web application, imagine a somewhat bit complex website where you have a front end and you have a middleware and you have a back end. So where in that case your database also comes into picture. So you have a database also for a web application. Then yeah, so then to handle that you also use VPC, but again it comes with public and private subnets. So yeah, you'll appreciate all these things once you see the demo. So please wait for that. And the other scenarios are like disaster recovery. Let's assume you have you want to have a disaster recovery scenario to be handled for for your application or your website. So which means all your critical data that is there in your VPC, you quickly want to transfer it to another region. So that way, if one site is down, your VPC will be automatically replicated to other site, and your website is up. So likewise, it is also so that there also this VPC plays a major role. So you can replicate the data across so that the disaster recovery can be minimized. And also like extend your on-premise corporate network into your cloud. So far, we're talking about the public cloud. Imagine a situation where you want to have an on-premise and also a cloud. So and you want to talk your on-premise should talk to a cloud. So which means same again. eBay is already having a data center locally, and this eBay also is having some resource in AWS. So how this on-premise eBay data center can talk to a public cloud, which is AWS. So again, there VPC come into picture. So and also securely connect cloud applications to a data center. So I think it's similar to that, but similar to what we discussed earlier. So how to securely connect the applications that are deployed in cloud from your local data center. So again, there also this VPC plays a major role, especially the hardware VPN access comes into picture. Even in the previous case, hardware VPN plays a major role. I forgot to tell that. So I mean, this is one exam question that can come. So for on-premise applications, if they want to talk to database, talk to database in cloud. Uh, so what are the options? So definitely the option that you need to consider is VPN. So VPN should be there. only with VPN you can on-premise can access the AWS cloud. So generally for security purposes. Um, and also the last one is like out of band and inline traffic inspection. Let's say you want to monitor again part of audit requirements. You want to monitor how much traffic is going to cloud or coming out of cloud to your data center or your data center. How much of traffic from your data center going to cloud? You want to monitor all those inbound and outbound. They call it inbound and outbound. So how much of this traffic is coming? You want to monitor. Then there are a lot of tools under VPC category, so which you see. So those tools will help you to even monitor this traffic. So yeah, these are the common enterprise use cases where where VPC will play a major role, starting from simple website creation to multi-tier to disaster recovery to on-premise setups and also to monitor monitor the traffic. So these are the areas typically VPC plays a major role. So any questions here? Okay, moving on to the next slide. So yeah, before going to what VPC is, I think some basics. The next two slides are just the recap. I think we already saw this. The region and availability zones. I think if you remember, region is nothing but AWS has a lot of regions around the world. So basically, region is nothing but a geographical location. So and availability zone is under that region. There are a lot of availability zones. Zone is nothing but a data center in that region. So generally, this availability zone is primarily to isolate the resources within a region. So let's say if there will be at least minimum two availability zones will be there under a region. So the idea is like if one zone uh, has any problems like fire outage or power outage, so other availability zone is the same region is not impacted. Let's take an example. So let's say uh, I'm selecting a lot of regions available. I think if you remember the Northern Virginia that we saw in US is Northern Virginia is one region. Under that, at least there will be 6 availability zones are there minimum under Northern Virginia. But yeah, but it depends. From region to region, it varies. Sometimes it can be as minimum as two. Sorry, it is three. Sorry, as minimum as three. But yeah, the max it can go till six. This six is what maximum AZs we saw it under a region. Again, this could be a probable exam point to be noted. So minimum is 3 availability zones. Um, so that if there is one is down, other two are there. So that is a concept why it is three, not two. Sorry. Um, so yeah, so if you have to represent this diagrammatically on the, you see this is an AWS cloud. Under that there will be a region. Under that there will be an availability zone, and typically your EC2 instance, for example, the Windows virtual machine that you created. So this will be under this availability zone. So that's all. So basically, every VM will be definitely under an availability zone, a region. Of course, they all under AWS cloud. So, and if you look this link where I'm touching region and availability zones are not really part of VPC as a concept, but these are all some things where you need to know about the global network
Home. Home.
that AWS has created so that we could use this VPCs. So this is a prerequisite for us to know, but even though they're not core concepts of VPC, so I'm just spending more time here. So I'm just clicking. We go to this link. I just want to show you uh, this. Yeah. Okay. So this is what I want to highlight. So this is global infrastructure link, which you saw in the PPT. So it's the same link. So if you look at around the world, AWS has. If you look at the blue icons are all regions. Um, for example, yeah, geographically, so many these are the regions. Under each region, there, for example, if you take in India, so this is in India we have Mumbai. Mumbai is the region. Under that, we have 3 availability zones. Similarly, in US, in US East, the Northern Virginia that we are seeing here, sorry, yeah, the Northern Virginia is on the so and if you see here there are six availability zones. Similarly, under West, Northern California, so there are three regions. So if you see minimum, there are three. And apart from that, we have Europe. This all London, Europe, Paris, Frankfurt. These are all Europe zone. There are a lot of places. The very important thing, yeah, here is Frankfurt. Uh, so Frankfurt is a very old one. 2014 it was launched. So yeah. So and likewise covering Asia Pacific as well. So China, Beijing, uh, Hong Kong, Singapore. So we have Singapore is one of the very old in the east side, I mean Asia Pacific side. So yeah, and of course there are some in Sydney as well here, and so and this availability zones increases every day. I mean not every day, but quite often. As and when AWS launches a new region, so yeah, they all will come again here. So this is one representation which I want to show. There is one more link called I think this very fancy website which I didn't see this earlier. So this is something which is newly created. So where you can rotate and see as a globe where these regions are, and you can pinpoint and rotate around. So this is one view where you can see all the regions, availability zones, local zones. So you can see all this stuff. Um, so and if you see here behind the scenes, like this global infra that is created, this is what is connecting. These are all, for example, some of them go across sea. If you look at these are all across sea, oceans. So there are some dedicated lines which network lines which travel across sea as well. So undersea transit cables are also laid. So yeah, all these things will help you to connect. So that it is not a easy job. So underlying cables, so a lot of mega infra is created behind the scenes so that all this is in a smooth fashion where on a button click you could access could create anything over the world anywhere. Yeah. So just keep this in mind. So basically, what we are trying to look at is from exam point of view, you need to know. So like from important regions, and each region will have at least minimum three availability zones, um, and also it is from exam point of view, you need to know uh, the resources that are created in one availability zone will stay to that. Sorry, created in one region will stay to that region only. So unless so, if you, for example, if you create resources in Northern Virginia, it will be all your resources lie in Northern Virginia unless you replicate them to other regions. So basically, it is restricted to that region only. So that you should keep in mind. Yeah, and for example, here some more this Northern America, for example, yeah, for example, you can go through. I mean, I will just give it to you. You can take this offline. But yeah, for example, in each um, zone, like each region, how many zones are there when this was launched, and all those things are clearly documented. So this link you can go through and understand more about this. Um, yeah. So that's background about region. So as and when you access AWS console, for example, let me, yeah, sorry, let me come back. Yeah, for example, yeah, this is the regions which I was referring. So this is where you select a region. So under, yeah, so US East, US West, so there are a lot of Asia Pacific. So this is important to know. So by all the resources that you create, first you select a region. So and typically, then the US East is generally the old, very old one. So you can select that, but you can also select if you're from India, so and you want this to be faster, you can select Mumbai region as well, for example. So yeah, likewise. Uh, yeah, so that's about. So when you create a VM, the summary is that which I want to know. Keep this in mind. You're going to select a region, uh, Northern Virginia, for example, and under that you select some availability zone. I think when you create a VM, it will ask for availability zone. So US is one, for example, is one availability zone. Under that, you create a VM. So yeah, okay, and then yeah, Uh,
So, Sham, one
yeah,
thing, like I thought the availability region is for redundancy, fault redundancy, right? Fault tolerance. If you select one particular availability zone, does it mean that if it goes down, your VM is down?
yeah. Unless you enable, you have to give instructions to do the fault tolerance.
Hmm.
Unless you tell, you don't do, because it comes with a cost, right? So
Okay.
so unless you tell that I need a fault tolerant for this VM because it's very critical for my enterprise, then yeah, this will be replicated to another region, or even, I mean, again, this fault tolerant can be done at two levels, right? One is you can replicate it within the same region, so same availability zone. Okay, you can do it within same availability zone, another copy. But your if availability zone is gone, it's completely gone, right? So another thinking about it is like you can create another zone like this and replicate it in another zone, but in the same region. Okay, so that is one possibility. If you think you globally, I want this to be replicated. My instance is in US, but I want a replication to be done in a different region altogether in Europe. Then yeah, that is like geographical redundant. So then yeah, that is also possible. So the various combinations are there, but all comes with a cost. So yeah, by default, it will be, you have to tell what type of redundancy you need. Yeah, just keep it in mind that it comes also with cost, because the replication is not an easier thing, right? It also requires resources to be consumed. Data has to be moved across region. So yeah, so it also comes with a cost.
So Shyam, just a follow-up question on that. So in case if my region or something has gone wrong, at that time, do I have the option of shifting it so that I can save some cost, or should I say it during the configuration stage itself, whether I need this kind of redundancy or copying all those things?
Yeah, this is a very good question. So I think that is where the cost versus the data that are going to lose. So you have to take a call between these two. So which is important? Uh, if you, I mean, generally for it is a very good architectural question. How important is your data?
Yes.
So is it okay to replicate daily once, or it has to be replicated instantly, or it can be replicated once in 6 months? So yeah, again, this all depends on your needs and the priorities and cost.
Right.
So yeah, yeah, the answer is it depends. So it depends on the scenario, but AWS supports all the cases.
Okay. And I have to say it at the time of configuration itself, or even down the line, I have the option to choose it.
Yes, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah. So, but yeah, generally, unless a disaster hits, yeah,
No,
that
no.
is,
Sham, the question is like, if my VM has gone down at that time, can I select fault tolerance and say, okay, now replicate it over there? Is that a possibility?
no, I mean, the idea is, I mean, you can't, if the VM is down, you can't do anything. I mean, at the max, you can take the backup of your EBS. So, but if but you can take precautions at any given time. I mean, definitely it is as a AWS architect. It is expected that your enterprise design that you're going to propose should support this fault tolerance from day one. So, but again, it comes with a cost. So again, how much is your enterprise going to ready to pay? But generally, it's a good practice to do it from day one.
Yeah, so if you can't, so when you can't, usually it comes in the configuration time. You deploy it. When you deploy it, you say it's multi-AZ or not. If you say it's multi-AZ, the redundancy is being built. That means you are being charged, basically. But like what Sham is saying is that most people prefer that because their websites wants to be there irrespective of one AZ down. So that is the most popular option. But if you don't have so much money to do that kind of a thing, what you could do is as soon as a VM goes down, there are options to bring it up in in a certain time. Probably you could bring it up within 30 minutes, you could do 1 hour, you could do 24 hours, you could do. Everything is also cost based on that. But if you want seamless multi-AZ configuration time.
Okay, okay. Yeah, thanks a lot. And just another follow-up question on this. Is it not Amazon's responsibility to bring it up as soon as possible? And why should a customer finally ends up charging just for a
No.
replication
If you
as
don't,
he gets
no.
frustrated?
If you don't choose the multi-AZ during
Mhm,
configuration, that means
mhm.
you assume the risk of saying, okay, I'm okay with the single AC. If I lose, I lose. But if you say, okay, I'm ready to pay for the multi-AC, that means Amazon will help you.
Okay.
It is your wish. I mean, how much you are ready to pay. Amazon supports both. I mean,
Okay.
multi-AZ or
Okay.
single AZ.
Okay, yeah. The origin of the question is because in other private-owned data sources, if there is any problem, probably the company who is owning it, they would even be ready to fly their own people and then to recover the data. So that is why that was the origin of that question. Okay, now I get it. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. So, yeah, I think some important considerations once you, for the region selection is that for, for a general purpose, right? So it's always good to select a region which is closest to you. So that way, your latency or data traffic data moving across the regions uh, from where your customer is versus to where the has to store in data center in AWS, that can be minimized. So, for example, your customers are from India, so it's a good idea to select the region as Mumbai rather than UOCs, for example. So, yeah. But again, it depends. Again, generally it's a good practice to have. But again, there are other aspects also to be considered. For example, uh, some of the latest products of AWS may not be there in Mumbai region. But generally, Northern Virginia in US is one of the region where you get all the latest products available, and that is a test bed. So yeah, it depends. But generally, it's a good practice to select a closer region. But yeah, there are some exceptions.
So, Sham, are
Um,
you sharing a screen?
oh, sorry, not
Yeah,
shared.
I don't see it at least.
How about others?
No, I am able to see it. It's
I'm
still
able
there.
to see it. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm able to see it.
okay. Because I'm recording. See, as soon as I talked, right, immediately switch to my thing. So I have to go
Correct.
back.
Yeah, then if
You have
Sham
to
speaks,
select
then
it.
probably it will change, or probably you have to click Sham's icon there. Then probably I think you will be able to see his screen.
Yeah,
Only
that is. Not sure if it's. Yeah, maybe it's a Google. Are you using Google Hangout recording?
no. I'm using my own thing.
Okay.
I'm not seeing yours. Let me see because I'm doing the recording, right? So 1 second, okay. So Shyam, soon you change to the practical, okay? So if you
Yeah, yeah,
want, I can say I'm trying to get to your thing. Hold on.
yeah. Definitely. No worries. I can wait. So yeah, in the meanwhile, if you have any other questions, you can ask.
Yeah, so I got it. So do you want me to stop the recording now? And is it a good time to go to the practical side, or you want to continue? You have some more slides.
I have a couple of slides to cover.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah, fine.
yeah, yeah. Okay. So yeah, so let's yeah, as I said, like the closer region is best. Again, as I said, like not all regions have AWS services. Uh, I'm just giving an example. AWS Comprehend, for example. So this is one product of AWS, for example. It's a very new product, in fact. So
அப்ப தெரியவே
uh,
இல்லை இருந்தானா
yeah, for example, select AWS Comprehend. So if I just want to show you that this product is very new primary machine learning product. For example, if you see here, some of them are disabled, right? So which means this product is not available in this region. So in Hong Kong, it is not there. Cape Town, it is not there. Yeah. So likewise, it is not there in Northern California. So yeah. So just keep it in mind. Not all regions will have all AWS services. Uh, I mean, it is just because they are piloting it, but soon it will be there. I mean, so that is intention. So generally they roll out to across regions in a phased manner. So, and also the cost of services also can differ from region to region. So yeah, that's also just something to keep in mind. So with generally the cost for any services, for example, if the EC2 that you're using for a northern Virginia will be let's say the cost same thing if you compare with the cost in Mumbai, there could be differences. So because they calculate the local expenses for the data center and all those things they will consider, and then they will decide on the cost factor. So yeah, so also just keep this in mind that this cost is not the same across regions. It might vary, but it won't be very drastically. It will be different. But yeah, there will be minor differences will be there. So, and also the some aspects to keep in mind are the legal or compliance requirements. So that also play a major role in selecting a region. For example, they have European Union have a policy that Europe data should not go out of Europe, right? So, for example, in that case, you have to select a region in Europe only. And also, as a replication, you can select another region within Europe only. So, for example, for fault tolerance. So yeah, so it depends. I mean, these are some of the considerations for region selection. Yeah, let's come to the topic of VPC. So why explain region and availability zones are now I'm relating VPC inside the region and availability zone. That's the reason I brought the context. So again, the scope of VPC. So if you see this diagram again, just AWS cloud and there's a region. Under that, let's say there are two availability zones are there. So consider this situation. If you look at this VPC boundary, is spanning across the availability zones. Okay, if you see that, so that is it's spanning across availability zone within the same region. So same thing here as well. So second VPC also. So from this and under this VPC, you are creating a boundary called subnet, and this is where your VM instances are there. Okay, so what does this mean is that generally the VPCs are spanning across availability zones. That is something an exam question that we need to keep in mind. Generally, subnet is restricted to availability zones, for example, but VPCs are not restricted, so they can span across. So that is an important item from exam point of view that you need to remember. Yeah, so as I said, like VPC belongs to region. Um, but they can span across AZs. And also, it's also possible from this diagram that you can multiple VPCs you can create per region. So for example, this is for eBay, and this is some other company. So like this, every company can have their own VPCs created. So every company will have their own boundary. Or even for the same company itself, there will be multiple VPCs created. But yeah, the point is multiple VPCs can be there in under a region. So, and also the VPCs contain subnets, which I explained what is. I mean, subnet is nothing but a logical boundary under a VPC, under which you have generally the AWS resources. Now, I just gave instance here, but it can be any AWS resource. Not just EC2, but generally, typically EC2 or a VM will be a most probable candidate here, but it could be a database, for example. Uh, so, likewise, it could be any product of AWS. So, but the idea is that if it is in subnet, so you can access this resource only if the subnet is defined as public. But if the subnet is defined as private, then you can't access the resource directly or internally. So that's something to keep in mind. Yeah, subnet is nothing but a sub boundary under VPC. Um, so this is where you are getting a logical isolation. All your resources are isolated under this boundary. Okay. Uh, yeah. So, any questions here? Very
Is
important
that
from. Sorry, go ahead.
the subnet? The subnet, is it the same concept as networking subnets, or is
Yes.
it like proprietary to Amazon?
No, it is a networking subnet.
Okay.
Same concept. The more or less the terminologies are almost to some extent retained, but there are very specific to Amazon also. But subnet is the same concept as general networking concept.
Shyam,
Yeah, yeah.
does the VPC extend beyond a geographical region. Say I have a service which is say running only in Northern Virginia, and I want to give it to the European or Asian region. So in that case, the VPC can span across the region.
No, not across region. It's all within region only, but across availability zones.
Okay.
VPC is not global across regions. So if that is your requirement, then you need to. Uh, it is possible to replicate a VPC across regions. So you should use that replication concept. You should enable that. So a similar VPC setup will be created in other region, and the data will be transferred as and when there is a new change happening. It will be replicated even there. For example, you created a new VM, it will be auto created even there. So
Yeah,
Okay. So how?
In Google, the VPC is global because of their underlying network things, right? But here in AWS, it is based on a region.
Yeah, so that's a very good question, actually, right? Like, so usually, right, like machines within, I mean, your VMs within a VPC can talk to each other, right? Like, so if you have more than one VM, and if you want to have one VM in one region, the other one, global VPC could help you like talk to each other, but nobody else can access it, right? But what you're saying is it is localized to a particular region, which is, I think, it's a
yeah,
limitation.
yeah, I think I'm thinking that there should be a reason for it. Maybe I'll try to find out, uh, but there could be security could be one reason. But yeah, but it's a good question. Maybe I need to get some more details on this. Why it is restricted?
The follow up on that one, Shyam, is
Yeah,
so when you create a subnet, you said that is availability zone. When I create a disaster recovery in the same zone and in the same region, or the disaster recovery in another region, will the VPC will get the exact replication of the addresses and subnets and IPs?
yeah. I mean, I don't know whether the IPs will be same. Not, but not. I'm not very sure about it. But generally.
If the IP
No,
is not same, then if the one instance fails, then the users will not know where to go.
so
So
to answer you, no, to answer you, basically there is something called Route 53 thing. So that's a software-based router which you could configure so that when people hit, they hit that address. They won't hit the address of the VPCs and so on. So there's a layer on top. So if you pay for
okay,
that kind of a thing, then you get some of these. Yes, abstraction.
okay.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you imagine that there is a in between AWS cloud and region, AWS region, there is something called Route 53, which is like a global connector across regions. So, so an end user hitting your website. So generally they'll have a domain name, for example, right? So google.com. So likewise there'll be some domain name. So the Route 53 will decide what IP that it should transfer it. Based on it, either it will transfer to this region or the other region based on the load and other things it will decide. So yeah, but generally outside world they will not expose uh, physical IPs. So they will be uh, covered with some domain name on top. So that way they do that magic of routing across regions based on some logic. So yeah.
Usually, this is
Okay.
called wide IP in a normal data center thing, but because your IP doesn't change, but you could be moving from one data center to the other center. The router does the magic behind the scenes.
Big
So I'm
IP, right?
thinking,
Here's a big
yeah,
IP. Yeah.
big IP,
Yeah.
wide IP. Yeah, it's
Okay.
called wide IP.
So in if it is going to be based on the domain name, then the AWS must be having or probably having their own
Yeah.
DNS as the entry point.
Route 53 is a DNS service.
Okay.
AWS DNS
Thanks.
service.
Okay.
Yeah. So generally
Thanks,
you
Shyam.
buy, yeah, you generally you buy the domain name either uh, with AWS or outside as well. There are other parties who give the domain names also, codaddy.com like that. So yeah, you can either buy the domain names either within Route 53 or outside. But yeah, but physically generally the IP addresses which are getting routed, that should be configured Route 53 so that as and when there is a hit happening, so it will be routed to the respective VM within the VPCs or within the availability zone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's clear.
Okay. So yeah, so this VPC concept is a bit tricky for people who are not don't have much knowledge on the networking aspect. That's where this Amazon introduced a default VPC concept. For example, if you remember our VM creation in the last session, so we while we were configuring, it was asking to create a default VPC. I think we created a default VPC and we created a VM. So the default VPC creation does many things behind the scenes. It will automatically create a VPC default VPC for you. It will automatically create a subnets under that, and so you don't need to enter any details for VPC or subnet details. It will automatically uh, do the magic for you. So that's what is called default VPC. Again, from exam point of view, you might get questions in this area uh, where uh, what is the boundary of the default VPC versus custom. When I say custom, it is you are creating your own VPC. That's what is custom VPC. So you should know the difference between when you say default, what is the diagram versus if you have custom requirement, yeah, definitely you'll have a different requirement than what is default. So yeah, it is important to know what is default, what it creates. So to answer that, what it creates is nothing but if you see that VPC is again, yeah, across availability zones it is created, and it is having a subnet created also. But this VPC is spanned across availability zone. For example, if you remember that the VM creation, we used Northern Virginia as a region, and in that we created a default VPC. So under Northern Virginia, there are 6 availability zones, if you remember. So on so these VPCs are created in all the availability zones by default, and also the subnets are also created in all the availability zones. So yeah, you don't need to do that. I mean, if you select default, it will create these things automatically for you. So yeah, that is something we need to remember from exam point of view. Um, Again, this default VPC may not suit for your enterprise requirement. So definitely, in real time, in real use case scenarios, you will not go with default VPC setup. You will create a custom VPC because every requirement will be different. Every networking requirement will be different. So yeah, just keep this in mind. This default VPC is a good thing to start do some POC or something like that. But generally, it is not a good practice to use the default VPC because it is it does not suit all the requirements. Just keep this in mind. Yeah, so that is something. Yeah, this as I said, like created with AWS, and each region has a default VPC. The subnets are created in each availability zone, um, and they are ready to. I mean, generally they are ready to launch instances under these VPCs, and generally used for a simple application. But yeah, generally in practice, you modify the default or build your own additional VPCs. So yeah, yeah. So here comes the VPC components. I think some of them, at least the terminologies you are already aware by now. I think the subnet, I think we saw. The subnet is nothing but a range of IP addresses of your application. So generally, enterprise will have this IP range for every company. They will have a starting range and ending range, and all the range. I mean, all the as and when they need, they will allocate an IP address within that range. And so that is so basically nothing but it's a boundary of IP address range. That is what a subnet is. In this subnet, there are two categories: public subnet and private subnet. Public subnet is something resources will be exposed over the internet. So, meaning if you create any resources under public subnet, you can access them publicly from internet. So if you get an IP address, you can access that. If you ping it, you'll get a response. So that is what is public subnet means. But whereas private subnet is something no internet, meaning you can't access it globally. So to access private network components, you need to go to the VPC and to this public subnet, and from public subnet you can access this private subnet. So it is like it's called a jump host. So something they call the jump host, where if you want to access a private subnet, you first need to go to the VPC and then only can access this private subnet, not directly outside over internet. So yeah, summary is subnet has two things: public and private. Public accessible over internet, private not accessible over internet. Then another important terminology, root table. Root table is nothing but set of rules, and they are called as routes. And this is what defines a network traffic direction. So which means that I can, as part of root table, I will tell what are the rules in terms of whether this network, for example, this private subnet or public subnet should be accessed under which set of IPs, who can access it, uh, and what other AWS resources can access it. So all those things I will define it here. So, but it is generally it is a one-time definition, but once you do that, it's all set. So that rules are defined. So generally, for example, 0.0.0.0. So if I give that as my root table source, I'm telling 0.0.0.0 is like you are giving star, like anyone can access, like you're giving global access. So if you give that, then you're giving global access. Anyone can access it. But instead, you can restrict it to tell that this IP 1.2.3.4.5, for example, this is just take an example. So this IP, if I just tell to restrict to in this the root table, so only that IP can access that network. So it is nothing but you're defining rules who can access what. That is what is the route table. Then next one is internet gateway. I mean, from the name itself, we can see it provides internet to your VPC. Generally, this public subnet will require internet because it requires an internet, right? So generally, public subnet would need an internet gateway. Internet gateway is nothing but another AWS product which provides internet to your public subnet. So that is something you need to keep in mind. So obviously, there will be exam questions in terms of like, for example, they will tell that there will be private subnet and they want, I mean, sorry, they will say public subnet and it requires they give an example saying that you need a public accessible website. This is a requirement, and what are the resources that you need to consider? And they'll give ABC option. So, for example, so in that public subnet internet gateway is something you need to select. Okay. So without internet gateway, you will not get a public accessible website. So that is something you have to keep in mind. Then NAT gateway. NAT gateway is also another option where it's used to generally for private subnet to communicate to the internet. So this is what is used. So generally it is an alternative to internet gateway. But generally it is primarily private subnets. For example, all the resources in private subnet, they want to get internet momentarily. For example, generally I said momentarily because generally these private subnets will have databases. Generally in production scenario, all the database will be in private subnet, and they will not, which means they will not have access to internet. Again, that is done for a reason because any database, if it is publicly accessible, people can start connecting to the database and change the data. So that is not expected. So generally, databases will be deployed on a private subnet, so it is secured. But there could be scenarios where this private subnet resources like databases need internet. For example, if there is a patch to a database that you want, that there is a new patch released Oracle database, let's say new software version is released by Oracle, and you want to upgrade the database, then you momentarily need internet to the private subnet, right? So for that purpose, generally NAT gateway will be used. So again, in exam point of view, private subnet resources, if they want internet, what is required? Answer is NAT gateway. So private subnet can't communicate with internet. So, but in case you need internet to private, then NAT gateway is your solution. Okay. The next one is the last one, which is VPC endpoint. So this VPC endpoint, from the name itself, you can tell it's an endpoint which means a URL. Okay. So, and using this, you can privately connect your VPC to other AWS resources or services. So the concept is basically, let's say you have another, you have a private subnet and you have a database, and a database there in private subnet, and this database wants to talk to another AWS resources sitting outside this network, okay, within outside the subnet. So, for example, it want to store some data into, for example, another VM, which is in a different subnet. So if you have requirements like that, then that resource should be talking via VPC endpoint. So basically, it can privately connect. Basically, you can one VPC talking to another VPC is one scenario, or one VPC talking to another resource which may not be in VPC, for example. So these are the various combinations that you could see. I'm not sure if I'm making sense. Maybe from diagram, maybe I will take some session on this, so it's more clear for you. But I think let's for now let's just think that it is nothing but you are accessing a resource outside your VPC. Then you need a VPC endpoint. So it is generally accessed via private link. So powered by private link. Which means that you don't need an internet gateway for this. That is the beauty of VPC endpoint. Okay, so yeah, I think these are all some terminologies which is a bit tricky to know, understand. Even I took some time to understand these concepts, but yeah, I think you'll understand if you see a demo. So we'll come back to this same section slides once you see the demo.
So
Okay.
yeah, you guys ask question. I'll stop the video and restart again. So that way video size will be less. Okay. So go for a QA
Yeah.
session.
Yeah. So this subnet is something which is